Let's go back to one of our leading stories now. Tshwane Mayor Cilliers Brink and Water and Sanitation Minister Senzo Mchunu have agreed to work towards fixing the water issues in Hammanskraal, north of Pretoria. Brink is also calling for the people implicated in the awarding of a tender to refurbish and upgrade the Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant to be fired. For more on this, we're joined by Professor Anthony Turton, a water resource expert. A very good evening to you, Professor. Thank you so much for your time. This is an outbreak which has not only exposed the extent of negligence, but a long-standing water crisis. I mean, the red flags have been there for quite some time. You yourself even warned of this as far back as 2008.
Yes, good evening to you and the listeners. None of this is a surprise at all, but of course it's a very deep human tragedy for the people involved. So we must always remember that. That people are dying out there, and it's, while people are squabbling, this is the reality. So we need to prevent that. These are simply too many deaths. It's not acceptable.
So this unfortunate disaster has once again brought to the forefront South Africa's dilapidated water infrastructure. What do you believe may have worsened the situation, looking at the time frame and the warnings that have been put forward?
Well, from my knowledge of the Rooiwal case, I think what it probably is going to rotate around in the end is corruption and the awarding of tenders, the inappropriate awarding of tenders for work done at the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works. I was involved in a project in 2015 to go and look at the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works, and from a legal perspective, with the intention of actually considering prosecution to see if something could happen there to fix up the mess. And I was therefore privy to forensic evidence that had been collected as far back as 2001, and it all showed a very, very significant paper trail of all sorts of attempts to manipulate tenders and what have you. So I think what this case might well be, we don't yet know if there's a correlation between the Rooiwal case and the cholera case. We must be very clear on that. We don't yet know that causal link. But if there is a causal link, then this is the first time that you're going to see the loss of human life as a direct result of corruption and the manipulation of the tendering process.
Why is it so important for you to emphasize that at this point in time the link has not been confirmed?
Well, yes, because we mustn't get ahead of ourselves. While there's a lot of emotion going around there, the fact of the matter is that a number of people have died in Hammanskraal. We found traces of the pathogen in other parts of the country. People are getting quite hot under the collar about this thing. But the simple reality is that we have not yet established firmly where the let's call it the epicenter of this is. We simply don't know that. And now we start to hear stories about people asking for 2.5 billion rand to be released from the treasury to fix up a wastewater work when we don't yet know if that's actually a causal link. So see, there's all these things getting conflated now. So let's take a deep breath and do these things methodically. We need to support the minister. I've given the minister my full and unequivocal support in this matter. We need to do the right thing. We need to be methodical, steady hand on the tiller when it comes to this thing. But it's not going to be fixed up in the immediate short term. But we're also not going to serve the best interests of society by just throwing huge amounts of money at fixing something that might not be the cause of the problem in this case. So let's just be cool, calm, and collected about it.
Yeah. As we try and do just that, we're also learning that this matter, this outbreak, is perhaps not only confined to Hammanskraal, because some residents that Newzroom Afrika has visited, like in Durban and the Free State, are looking at the surge in their streets and raising concerns. And also, there's also reports of cholera being detected in the Vaal River.
Yes, personally, I'm not at all surprised by this because of the extent of the destruction of our wastewater systems. I would have thought that there would have been a lot more disease outbreak before this. So I'm not at all surprised in any way, shape or form about this, for a number of reasons. I've been on the record for some time as raising my very, very deep concern over the lack of of maintenance in our wastewater treatment works. We can't simply continue to discharge 5 billion litres of sewage into our rivers, most of which is untreated, and then not expect consequences. So these are the chickens coming home to roost now. And, yeah, so I'm not surprised.
With the destruction of our waterway systems and the Tshwane as well as the Department of Water and Sanitation saying they're going to come together to formulate a plan that will deal with this matter, what are the implications, especially looking at the state of our economy? It's already limping. How much worse can it get with this problem now being under the spotlight?
Look, I don't want to be a prophet of doom here, but our water sector is in dire straits, absolutely dire straits. The last estimate that I saw with any reasonable accuracy was we need something in the order of 1 trillion rand just to fix what's broken in the water sector. That's a lot of money, 1 trillion rand. That's a huge amount of money. And the fiscus doesn't have it at the moment. You know, the economy is in dire straits. The tax base of the country is under severe pressure. Capital is busy migrating outside of the country. Jobs are not being created. So we really have a very, very serious crisis here. And, of course, on top of that, the Eskom situation is not helping any of this. So now we really need to have a sort of a national concerted plan. I would almost like to think we need to come together as a kind of government of national unity or at municipal level, get this sort of whole notion of national unity. Let's put petty politics aside. Let's depoliticize water, energy, and food. Those are important things. Let's depoliticize those, and let's bring back technical competence into those spaces. So I fully support that. I think the broad society would be best served by those kind of actions. But then we also have to be very wise in the way we allocate resources. If we don't have that kind of money left in the treasury, we mustn't go and ask for another 2.5 billion rand for something that might not be linked to this thing here. Let's just be wise in this sort of thing, and let's go back and do what proper professional engineers do. When there's a crisis, they do what is known as a root cause analysis, and then they know exactly what has driven the failure in the system, and then they know exactly how to allocate their resources accordingly. We've seen, for example, in the Mfuleni case, where 3 billion rand was actually allocated to that. They still haven't fixed the problem. So we can't just continue to throw billions of rand down this bottomless pit. Just not going to work like that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for weighing in on this discussion, giving us some insight there, Professor Anthony Turton.